How you going, guys? This is Omega. Um, uh, a little bit, I'm just horrified about what happened in Sri Lanka today. Uh, we had Good Friday, and and then there was this, you know, almost a quiet time between the crucifixion of Jesus Christ coming up to Easter Sunday. And I was thinking to myself, and I was quietly optimistic that there wasn't going to be anything, anything that was going to happen. I was quietly optimistic. I thought, we've gone through Good Friday, and then we've got, this quiet time between then and Easter Sunday, and nothing had happened. And I thought, it's great. Nothing's happened, and I didn't want to be a killjoy and get out there and say, I bet you that there's going to be a bombing. I bet you someone's going to get killed. I bet you there's going to be some load of bullshit that's going to go down. And sure enough, took my kids off to church. We had our little Easter egg hunt. We took our kids off to church and spent that time at church. And the second I got home, the news broke of this, atrocity that's being committed in Sri Lanka, and multiple churches bombed, and it was just skyrocketing the amount of dead. It started off at a certain number, and every 5 or 10 minutes, the ABC or the other news stations were changing the amounts of people that were dying. It started at 100, and then it went to 130, and then it went to 137, and then it went to 138. And I was just sitting back and just going, how the hell can this happen? And one of the biggest disappointments for me has just been the response to it's just another Christian massacre. It's just another Christian massacre. It's just another atrocity that's been committed. And, what's the difference between 137 dead Christians and 138 dead Christians? No one cares. And I've just been so disheartened by it all. And, obviously we've just seen the Christchurch massacre, and, this huge media response, minute by minute coverage. We've seen, knee-jerk reactions, laws changed, gun laws changed. We saw, a minute's silence held in New Zealand. We saw the Prime Minister over there wearing a hijab in solidarity. We saw Islamic prayers going out across the country, etc., etc., etc. And I really think, honestly, it's high time that the death penalty for terrorist activity, or any type of terrorist activity is punishable by the death penalty. I think that's the only solution. I don't know about you. I don't know about your thoughts on this, but I think that the only way to really address this is to bring back the death penalty. And I'm talking in Australia, if you've got people who have been convicted of conspiring to mass murder people, there shouldn't be any mercy whatsoever. They should be hung, they should be strung up, and the bastards should just be left to rot as an example to everyone else that would want to follow in their footsteps. And because all we're doing is placating to this kind of terrorism and just encouraging it, really. And I don't have any problem with asking for the death penalty for terrorism. I really don't. Because all it's going to do, and when we look at reality, bringing the death penalty to terrorism, or the people who are charged with terrorism, all it's going to do is kill 10% of the messed up Muslims within our countries. That's all it's going to do. It's not going to kill Christians. Anyone can get online and look at Wikipedia and see the terrorist attacks that are happening around the world. They can look at the statistics. We can listen to these, left-tard idiots, and with all their, and they are the conspiracy theorists. They get on there and they talk about, these very, very isolated incidents which have happened, and completely ignore the hundreds and thousands of incidents that are happening all around the world, year by year, committed by people from a certain sect of society. And if we bring in the death penalty, which punishes extremists, all we're going to do is kill off the radicalized section of Islam within our communities. And I've said this before. I know Muslims personally, and they're friends of mine, and I invite them into my house. I bring them over. I even bring them over for Christmas dinner, just to show them the love of Jesus, to show them the love of Christ. And they're beautiful people. But if we bring in this death penalty, which is, only executed upon terrorists, we're literally going to kill off 10% of the radical Muslim population. That's what will happen, because that's where it's coming from, and that's a reality. And I don't care what people say, that's where it's coming from. And, today is just another example. The response, what would be the response? You look at New Zealand, what would be the response to what happened today? I don't know. Let's quickly send out the police force to protect mosques against radicals that could attack mosques because Muslims killed hundreds of people. That would be the usual reaction. And it's completely ridiculous. We've had, New Zealand has said that they're going to get something like, it went from about 80 or more Anzac parades and reduced them down to about 26 Anzac parades this year because of terrorist concerns. This guy who attacked Christchurch, he wasn't a Christian. He was truly a lone wolf. And yet they've reacted as if he's interconnected in some gigantic right-wing conspiracy to mass murder Muslims in New Zealand, and use that, which was already a set-out agenda. We know that. It was already a completely prefabricated agenda to disarm the country and to implement a leftist, a leftist agenda. They'd already pre-planned the whole thing. They were just looking for a fire starter. And, they took that situation, they used it, and they used it and maximised it. And they're not interested at all, any of these people, in Christians being killed, because politically they can't use it. They can't use it, to move their leftist agenda forward. And that's all it's about. It's if it's not useful to the leftist agenda, then it's not useful at all. And I'm fed up with it. And Christians and the Western society need to be speaking up on this, because remember that it wasn't just Christian churches that were attacked today. It was international hotels. It's an attack on Western society. It's the the destruction of Western society these people seek. But I think it's important that, we understand that this is not all Muslims. These people are not all radicalized. A lot of them, identify as Muslim, but they don't actually follow any of the tenets of like Sunni Islam. They're peaceful people who just want to live out peaceable lives. But we need to address terrorism, and honestly, I believe the only way to do that is through the death penalty. Bring the death penalty back. If people are convicted of terrorism, there needs to be no mercy. Their families, anyone connected to them, who are not, directly connected to the crime, need to be deported. It's the only way to go. I'm Omega, I'm signing out.